Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Glossy Philosophy. My name is Jansen Binman and today you are tuned in for a magazine cover makeup look. As always, I've already prepped my face with washing it and doing skincare, so now let's get into the tutorial. We are going to start with the NARS Tinted Smudge Proof eyeshadow base. Just a little bit on your ring finger, and then I'm going to split it and take that from the lash line all the way up to the brow. This look is very minimal, so it's really about clean skin, and we don't want any discoloration happening because the focus is definitely on the skin with a little bit of a super soft smoky eye. So now we're going to go in with Rock and Kohl from Charlotte Tilbury and just amp up that lash line. So lightly pulling my lid and popping that upper lash line out just a little bit to get in there. Okay. Now we're going to go in with Corrector from BOBBI Brown and Bisque. I'm going to take my finger, and as I'm patting this in, my finger is kind of warming up this product, so it's really melting into the skin. This is a very thick, creamy product, so a little bit goes a long way. When you purchase one of these, it's going to last you, oh gosh, I would say at least 6 months. If not longer. For hygiene's sake, you probably don't want to keep something like this for more than a year, and you definitely want to smell it around that 6-month mark just to make sure that there's no bacteria buildup. But you should be able to get all the way through because a little bit does go a long way. Now going in with concealer from GIORGIO Armani, Luminous Silk in 4.5. As you can see, this is just blending into the skin, which is exactly what we want a concealer to do. Now I'm going to take my Duo Fiber brush from MAC, and I'm just going to tap and blend out the edges. Then I'm going to go back in with my finger and pat that in even more, especially on this inner corner, because this brush, even though it's a little bit smaller, it's not quite as small as a regular concealer brush. This isn't really what it's for, but I like the finish that it gives. So I do have to go back in with my finger and just make sure that everything is blended in, especially around the eye area. The Duo Fiber is so great. It's such a multi-purpose brush. It's really great for vacation, or if you are going like just on a trip. It's kind of like a one and done brush. It can also do your foundation, your highlighter. If you have a liquid or a cream blush, this would be a really good brush to use as well. It's almost like those old painter foundation brushes, but it's softer. It's not as dense. So with a really light hand, I am kind of painting my face, you could say, with my foundation, which is GIORGIO Armani Luminous Silk 4.5. And just, I'm picking up a little bit with my Duo Fiber brush and then placing it on the skin. Normally I would dot all over, but this brush gives such a nice finish that I don't have to do that. And just making sure everything is nice and blended. I'm going to bring down just a little bit onto my neck. Again, don't go crazy with this because when you hug people like your kiddos, you don't want to get makeup all over them. But it is good to just have everything nice and seamlessly blended. So that was one pump, and I still have quite a bit on my hand, but I don't need it, so we're just gonna leave that alone, and we're gonna move on to our highlighter.
by Lisa Eldridge. This is Crystal Nebula. I'm going to take it straight from the doe foot applicator. I'm going to do 3 dots on either side. I'm getting very low, and I am planning on repurchasing this. I'm going to do my duo fiber brush again and just really lightly blending that out so that as my head turns, it just is on the top of that cheekbone and around that occipital bone. So it just gives a really nice natural glow. If you feel like maybe the brush didn't do as great of a job, you can always go in with your fingers and pat that in. Your fingers are such a great tool for your foundation, your concealer, and your highlighter. Now I'm going to move on to my brows. So with my angled brush into Sandstone, and I believe this is Brun. I think I switched it back up. Yeah, Brun. Sandstone and Brun. I'm going to fill in any gaps that are happening in the brow area. As I continue to color my hair a little bit later, I'm still, as my hair grows out, I'm still getting a little bit of that brunette color. I'm not 100% gray, but sometimes it feels like that. Just filling in any gaps going in the same direction as the brow hair is growing naturally. Not taking too much time with this because I want to make sure that I'm spending a little bit of time on creating that really soft eye look. That's the thing with makeup. You have to choose where you want to spend your time so that you don't end up spending an hour on your makeup. Now we're going to go in with the Pale Yellow Powder pressed version from Bobbi Brown. I'm going to use my blush and powder brush, knock off any excess. This is one of those times when I just want to get in and get out. The colors that I'm using on my eyes are very natural, nothing super dark, nothing super shimmery, so I'm not really worried about fallout. And I also want to see how things are kind of progressing all over the place. I don't want to go too heavy on the eye. I'm going to go in with a MAC blush. This is Sweet Enough, Mineralize. Same brush. I'm just going to bounce my brush on my cheekbone and then swipe away. This has the most natural flush to the skin that I have in my cheek collection. I'm not a big blush girl. I think a blush is great for enhancing, but it's not really the center of the show for me. So I only have a few. And then we'll go in with a little bit of bronzer because Charlize definitely has bronzer on. I feel like when I think of her, I always think of sun-kissed skin. She's one of those like amazing faces that really can change with what she's wearing, how her makeup is, and of course the character that she's portraying. So she's quite sculpted, especially under her cheekbone, and I know that they enhanced that. I can tell that they enhanced it with some dodging and burning in Photoshop, but I think we'll spend maybe a little bit more time on the bronzing. So again, BK Beauty brush, BK Beauty bronzer brush. That's kind of tricky to say. BK Beauty bronzer brush. In my Natasha Denona contour and sculpting powder. You could absolutely use a smaller brush to really get in there. I'm sure that they did because she has fabulous bone structure. But I'm also going to music class after this, so I don't want to go too crazy. Before we go into the eyes, I'm going to do the lips, and I'm going to go in with Lisa Eldridge Songbird gloss and Kitten Mischief lipstick. My Kitten Mischief had a little bit of an accident, so I'm going to use a brush from BK Beauty. And I don't have a lip brush in my personal collection. I do
in my makeup kit, but you can use any synthetic brush. My lips are decently sized. So I don't need a petite lip brush. Definitely, I've said this before, but make sure that your brushes match your face. Just because I'm using a big brush doesn't necessarily mean that that is a good brush for you. Just because I'm using a small brush doesn't mean that's good for you. Look at your features. If you have like a smaller face, maybe you want smaller brushes. If you have smaller cheekbones, you want a smaller brush. If you have bigger cheekbones, you want a bigger brush. That kind of thing. All right, now we're going to add a little bit of Songbird. Now we are ready for the eyes. So what are we doing on the eyes? We are using these three colors. We're using Wedge, Charcoal Brown, and Vanilla. So first I'm going to start with Vanilla with my 201 from BK Beauty, and I'm just going to put that all over, almost like a primer. But I just want to get a nice base. Sometimes when you start these looks, it's good just to kind of go slow and figure out where your bone structure is. Okay, so I use mostly the side of my brush for doing that of the Vanilla. Now I'm going to use the tip for Wedge. Going on that outer third and then sweeping that up right into that socket and a little bit above. So I'm emphasizing the bone structure that I have already. So no matter what kind of eyes shape you have or how big or small, this is a really good tip. Just use a color, a shade that is slightly darker than your skin tone and work on that outer third and then right into that socket and then start blending it out. And that's how you get that nice bone structure look. Okay, we're going to put away the 201. I'm going to go into 217 from MAC, same color, into Wedge, and I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm just kind of building up that emphasis. Doesn't really look like she has a liner on, so then it's really important that you get that nice socket color and then bring it up a little bit for when your eyes are relaxed. So I'm going to start relaxing my face so I can actually see what it's going to look like when my face is relaxed. Because as we've spoken about before, we do not walk around with surprised eyes all the time. So it's really important to just like take a moment, take a breath, relax your face. I find personally that I often don't bring my eyeshadow up high enough beyond the socket so that when my face does relax, a lot of my detail work goes away. Okay, 217, just a little bit of Wedge. I'm going to put it under so that we kind of get that soft smoky halo all the way around our eye. And then we'll go in with Charcoal Brown on a pencil brush. Create almost a liner look. Oops. Okay. Pencil brush from MAC into Charcoal Brown. Just really gently going to start bringing that along the lash line. And if I need to, I can go into Brun. It's nice to have a mirror really close, but it's also nice to have a mirror a little bit further away, so you can either have a handheld or like a magnifying mirror, but then definitely take a step back, see what's going on, what are you going to look like when you enter into a room, that kind of thing. I'm going to go back in with a little bit of wedge. I can tell that this eye has a little bit more of that vanilla peeking through, and I don't really want that on my lid. So I just want that nice soft gradient brown all the way across the lid. There, that's better. Okay, now we're going to start building up that charcoal brown on the outer part of the eye, because she's definitely, again, she's got detail to her eye makeup. It's just really soft, really subtle. So you can always use a brush like a pencil brush or a smudge brush to place the shadow, and then something like a 217 or the Sonia Kashuk tapered crease brush to blend it out. So even though this look is really subtle and pretty and almost kind of like painterly a little bit, it still takes a little bit of detail. It still takes a little bit of work, especially with your blending. So I just grabbed a little bit of that charcoal brown from my pencil brush and put it on the lower lash line. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure those eyes are equal. Again, just building up that outer third. When your brush is denser, it's going to lay down more product, kind of creating a little bit of a wing without using liner. So just by using that pencil brush, and then we're blending out those edges, making sure everything is talking to everyone else. Everyone is welcome to the party and playing nicely. Okay, everything's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to go in with a clean, actually I'm going to use my Sonia Kashuk, and I'm just going to re-emphasize that vanilla right under my arch to pop that bone structure. And then I'm also going to bring it in right on this inner corner, because especially early in the morning, I definitely get a little bit dark there when I'm doing my makeup this early. She has amazing lashes, so we are going to really amp up our lashes, especially because we didn't go in with any kind of liner. So using that DIOR primer, really coating that on so that our mascara will not only last all day, but also our lashes will stand up a little bit more. When you put on your mascara, you kind of get a little bit of a liner look anyways. Okay. And then we're going to go in with the Bobbi Brown Smokey Eye Mascara. Taking off the excess on the tip of the brush, and then really going after those roots first. And then pulling through, kind of rotating my brush as I'm pulling. I find that being able to rotate your mascara brush, just make sure that you're actually getting all the goodie from your mascara wand instead of just pulling up in the same place time after time, because that mascara is gone. So you need to rotate your brush a little bit. It also helps to lift the lashes, almost like you're curling them without actually curling them. Mascara makes such a difference. When you're doing your eye looks, you almost have to think about the mascara. Because it does add quite a bit of contrast and quite a bit of life to the eyes. So sometimes I feel like when I do a really, really smoky eye, you've like really got to amp up that mascara to get that contrast between the smoky eye and your lashes. You always need the lashes to really pop in order for the eyes to look a little bit younger, a little bit more alive, and just to complement what you've done on your eye look. So that is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching this magazine cover inspired tutorial. When I was thinking about Wolf Hall and what kind of makeup look I wanted to do, Charlize Theron immediately popped into my head because she is such like a Renaissance actress. She really is able to embody so many different characters. So even though we're kind of taking the Renaissance in a different way, I still think it applies to Wolf Hall. And when I saw this cover, I thought this is very similar to what you might do for a Renaissance character in a movie or something like that, because it's very neutral. You'd probably take it down a little bit, but I think that it's just a really beautiful, it's a beauty look that you can wear every day, and it's pretty easy to put together. So thank you again for watching. Make sure you check out that book talk on Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye!